Hello, everybody. Welcome to class. Thank you for being here. How is everybody? Heads nodding. How many of you are supporting the soccer team? Yay. Okay. Because you were, hands up again. You were? How many of you were there? Just you? Okay. And you? Okay. All right. I'll remember that. That was a university excused outing. So I need to take care of you if you were out supporting the team. All right. How are you? Okay. Well, you just keep going. Keep going. This is the end of week 11 for you, going into week 12. So soon you'll be enjoying your Thanksgiving and preparing for Christmas, preparing for the next semester. So life does not wait for us. So you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Best wishes with everything. This will pass, okay? Where are we? Well, as always, we'll look at what comes next. I don't mind spending all the time, every single class, talking at where are we and where are we going. I'm always grading something, right? So, but I think I've graded everything you've given me. My other classes where I need to wrap up on my grading, but I'm trudging through it as best as I can. But I don't think I owe you anything grading wise. I don't think so. I think we're good here. And then the major part of our time together is processing part one. And then as always, we end with a reflection and say goodbye to each other. I don't know if there are any prayer requests. What's my prayer request at this time? Oh yeah, so I survive tomorrow and the day after. I have the kids they have the day off. And I have such a busy day. Tomorrow, I'm it, and then Itai is it on Friday. So yeah, prayer request that I survive. They're gonna come to the chiropractor, not chiropractor, the physiotherapist with me. Itai says to me, I don't think they will allow the kid. I'm like, they won't know. I'll just show up with the kids, you know. So they're not gonna send us away, are they? So I don't think so. So we're gonna do that. Some of the things I have to do at home, because we have parent-teacher conferences. That's why, Thursday, Friday. So that's my prayer request. And I'll be praying for your success and that you survive the remainder of the semester, okay? Pray for your loved ones, pray for your pets, pray for your pockets, that you'll have lots to be thankful for Thanksgiving. All right. Today we are here and we are going to do part one of Siegel and Bryson. And then next class, we will do part two. So please come to class having read and processed part two. And 3 on Wednesday. Your final projects, we will watch your presentations starting on the 22nd. So I'll give us directions here. My recommendation is that on the 21st, you give me the presentation. One time, I lied, 2 times in my 5 years at Warner Pacific, students didn't have a presentation. I don't think I will ever, that happened earlier on, but I like having them the night before, if that's all right. And then we will watch your presentations the following week. And then we are off on the 25th. So looking forward to closing that chapter, and hopefully, and I did this deliberately to put it here and not right at the end, as will happen in your other classes. I want you to have space to do other stuff. So some of you are in the adolescent development class. I wanted to space those out. So I hope that helps some. And so that's why I put it a little earlier on. And I gave you feedback on your drafts. So I hope all of that is helping you get a move on. Are there any questions about where we are and what comes next in our class? I hope everybody has this book, and many of you will feel that this is a priceless jewel by the time we're done with it. And I hope you will feel the same. This time, 3 years ago, I was in San Diego for the conference I was at this year, National Council for Family Relations. And so the meeting was in person. We were in San Diego and it was awesome. He was one of my professors at North Dakota State. He's still there. She's a new professor and I was getting too close to her. So I made a new friend. I helped recruit him. He's a student, was a student doing his PhD. And when they said to him, how did you come to NDSU? He talked about how a bunch of us went to recruit at the university where some of our students come from. So, and he drives a very big truck. Just a cool guy. And she just graduated with her PhD just this last December. And she's now a professor too. So super, super happy for her. During the conference or during my downtime, went to the University of San Diego, the San Diego Zoo, one of the biggest zoos in the country, I hear. I spent the whole day there, but having watched Planet of the Apes, I can never enjoy a zoo ever again, ever again. So I was miserable. But the zoo had lots of cool things going on there. So I said to you, she has graduated. I think she has graduated too, Megan. Just wonderful, wonderful people. And there she is right there. And she's from Zimbabwe. I helped to bring her over. She used to ace my undergraduate class. And she won the prize for the best graduating student in sociology and psychology, double major. So now she's teaching in Minnesota. I was with her in the Masters of Sociology program at NDSU. She came into our division and she's a gerontologist at Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. She's teaching and doing research there. So super, super proud of my colleagues, and I will be saying that about you one day. So I so look forward to coming to that time. This is in San Diego for that conference during my downtime. I wandered off and was driving around aimlessly, just enjoying the city, and stumbled on the University of San Diego. It is so fancy, so nice. And I had so much fun. I also stumbled on Point Loma University. I couldn't tell if I was on a resort, some fancy hotel, or a college campus. They are right on the beach. They're right on the ocean. They have their own ocean front, you know? They have an amphitheater. So it was so, so nice. I had such a wonderful time when I was out there. So, okay. Anything coming up for you before we dive into our text? No? Okay. All right, so why did Dan Siegel write this book and Bryson? Dan Siegel and Bryson. They wrote this book to help parents do their job. Parents have a very important job to do. And so this text is a very important go-to. Some of you in this class want to start your own families. This is going to be a good resource for you. And not only helpful to parents, but anyone whose job function has a parenting component to it. This is an excellent resource. I spoke to a potential employer, to one of not my students. I speak to those often too. But this is someone I worked with at the nonprofit who has since transitioned and moved to Chicago. And so they applied for a job at a school. And the person calling me for a reference check yesterday said, this is one of the biggest schools in Chicago. And so we want to hire this person, and you are their manager at the nonprofit in New Avenues. And we want to hear what your thoughts are about this person. So they are going into a parenting type role. You understand what I'm saying? Teachers, anyone who works with children and adolescents, your job function has parenting in it. And so this text helps those of us who will work with children and young people. So our authors wrote this book to help us with that function. Did I show you in this class kiddos having temper tantrums? It was this class, yeah. This is an excellent resource on how to deal with difficult and frustrating situations when working with children and young people. So some of you said, hey, you know, I think we had a conversation about what the adult could have done differently, what they did well in that situation. This is going to help us understand what's happening in the mind of the young person who's having a crisis and what to do about it. Before I transition from this slide, I want to hear why else you think our authors wrote the book. So I'm giving you time to think on that, but I need to hear from a couple of you what your thoughts are, what your impressions are, having read chapter 1. I said here for me, they also want to help us build a solid foundation for children, anyone who works with them. It's critical that we help build a solid foundation for these children. And so Siegel wants parents to be able to do that competently and apply the science around child development. Another takeaway from me on why this book was written, or some of the benefits of this book, providing parents with a useful resource. Why don't I stop and just give you a minute? I would love to hear, you know, why else you think this book was written. Any thoughts that arise, having read at least the first chapter? And some of the useful things that you have come across as we read this. Feel free to share your thoughts. Yes, ma'am.
It has like 12 strategies, I suppose, to just term
Okay.
of like different ways to support a child throughout their life.
Okay.
Like how to, I think one of them was like name it, retain it.
Yep.
Which was like telling stories to calm their big emotions. So we gave the kid always having a temper tantrum or something, talk to them about it, maybe come up with a story.
Okay.
With that. But it's kind of like, I guess to summarize, it's like taking science and simplifying it to ways that parents can apply it to everyday life with their kiddos.
I love how you say simplifies science. Thank you. What else comes up for you guys? Yes, ma'am?
I just used to like educate parents on how the brain works in a kid and how to like the first chapter was saying how to integrate the left brain, like the left side of the brain and the right side. And I guess like in our society we're really focused on like, the brain and how it works. We just focus on like the outside of the physical and not really like what it is inside our head.
Okay. To integrate the left and right brains. Hence, it's called the whole brain child. And so in this book, we will learn about what happens in the different brain hemispheres and how those are two separate functions, but they are supposed and designed to work together. And our growing child needs strategies on how to do that. Because when that kid that we watched was flipping out, their brain was not integrated. There was brain disintegration. And this book helps us understand what that means and how to help kiddo reintegrate their brain so that they don't flip out like that. You can manage their frustration in a healthier way and release pent-up frustrations in a safe and healthy way. Okay, awesome. Anything else come up for you guys? Yes, sir?
Classic stuff like that. So I just wonder like what like how it's more like we're doing like
You bring up such a salient, important point. What did folks do? What do folks do in the absence of this? When I first read it, I thought to myself, I do that. I just never knew I was doing that. I can't think of an exact example now. So a lot of parents are doing a lot of these things without knowing that they are strategies or without doing them in the full way that Siegel and Bryson explained, if that makes sense. Some of it I was doing, but not in this way. And I was like, wow, now that I know that I can also, I have that step and that step and that step, my goodness me, I wish I knew that too. My dad was awesome. He was just an awesome dad. And he did his best for me. And I think I turned out okay. Okay, that's not great. I did okay. You understand what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. When not as a kid, well, okay, let me give you that example. I'm gonna give you two examples. I was my first memory, we talked about this in this class. I don't have a lot of memories as a 4-year-old. My memory just can't go beyond, further back. But I have this memory as a 4-year-old. We used to rear rabbits and chicken in our backyards, as many Zimbabwean families do, because yards are big, not the tiny little yards you have that have no fences around them here in the US. We have big yards, and everybody who can afford to have a big wall, has a wall. So you have tons of privacy. So it takes me, I still have to get used to it every single day when I wake up and you can see what your neighbors are doing. That's very, very strange for me. Someone who's coming from Zimbabwe, coming here for the first time, they will be in shock for a long, long, long time that you're not right. So we have big yards in the back. and people rear chicken in the back. So you have your own organic, non-GMO chicken. It tastes so much different, I promise you. I still try and get used to it. You have to over marinate it, the flavor out of it. The Zimbabwean chicken, marinating it might be spoiling it. You don't need much. Taste meat and enjoy it. Anyway, I have this memory of my dad carrying me on his shoulder and going to check on the chickens after he come back from work. I think I had been miserable, so he was comforting. I don't think he named it. He helped me name it to table. We never did that. We did something else in lieu of naming it to table or the strategies. He did the strategies in a different way, but it worked okay. That's one example. The other example I was going to share was when a friend of mine died in college, I was your age, and a friend of mine died. He got pneumonia, having gone to a conference in Sweden. It was a bit of a freak dad. He was very smart, and he was an economics major. They came back, he had pneumonia, he got pneumonia. They thought it was a cold and he would recover. But lo and behold, he died. It was tragic, tragic. I was very, very close to him. So I actually took time. I had a mental health crisis. I actually went home. I was torn up and I was just a mess. I needed to go home to my safety. And I went home and I may have been depressed, but you see, in my language, we don't have the word for depression because that doesn't exist. What's the matter with you? Be happy, have some tea, have some French toast, and be happy. Don't do this weird thing. What do you do with that? We don't know what to do with it. We don't even have a name for it. So I went home. And so was there, I think it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I came back to work. Somewhere in there, my dad saw that the tea and the French toast were doing nothing for me. They said to me, bro, you gotta be brave about this, And don't cry too much because he's not even a family member. He's a stranger. He didn't mean to hurt my feelings, but boy, did he hurt my feelings. But I understand that we have a different perspective of mental health in my culture. And so that was not helpful. So that's some of the ways our general folks who don't have this kind of resources deal with situations like that, bro, like that. Some of it was really good, powerful, effective, you liked it, and you're okay, just okay. Some of you are great, but you're just okay, right? Never mind, I'm just teasing, I'm teasing. Right, so, and we will continue to unpack that. What did folks do without it? And what are your folks who probably have never seen anything like this, how they are raising kids? You understand what I'm saying? So we will continue to process that and think on it. Anything else? I have a few other things. I said provide a straightforward, scientifically based ideas to help parents parent. But those are some of the reasons why the book was written. Okay, let's keep going. What does an integration look like? So we are going to spend a lot of time talking about integration. I'm trying to pivot out of the things that Siegel talks about in chapter 1. So I pause another question in response to that question. Why does this integration matter? Integrating the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Integration takes the distinct parts of your brain and helps them to work together as a whole. Because sometimes children are overwhelmed by their emotions. Integration matters because it helps our children become better integrated so they can use their whole brain in a coordinated way. And also, Siegel and Bryson want parents to help children use everyday experiences to learn about emotions and to manage those emotions. So children can't respond calmly and capably to the situation at hand. So that's another reason why this integration matters. We see that through tantrums. And so because of tantrums that you have seen and witnessed, and you were appalled by brain integration. And so it becomes super, super important to have integration. Integration is important because a lot of parents are relying on the telly, on video games, and tablets to raise kids. That's a problem. In this section, you read about chaos as one bank and rigidity as the other. We defined mental health as remaining in the harmonious flow of this riverbank. So that's part of what our authors did, use the analogy of a river, the analogy of a bank, and having a healthy flow, right? We read about a vignette of Marco and how Marco's fears would have been left unresolved and could have surfaced in other ways if Marco did not get support from parent to learn from that terrible experience. He might have developed a phobia about riding in cars or being separated from his parents. Or his right brain might have raged out of control in other ways, causing him to tantrum frequently. Instead, by telling the story with Marco, Mariana helped focus his attention both on the actual details of the accident and on his emotions, which allowed him to use both the left and the right sides of his brain together, literally strengthening their connection. Did you enjoy that story? And was that a really powerful analogy of using everyday experiences? I like to read a little bit, you know? Let's read a little bit of this text together. A couple of you have the book, so I'm gonna read a little bit and then someone just pick it up. Let's read a little bit, okay? Introduction, survive and thrive. You've had those days, right? When the sleep deprivation and the muddy cleats, the peanut butter on the new jacket and the homework battles, the Play-Doh on your computer keyboard and the refrains of, she started it, leave you counting the minutes until bedtime. On these days when you again have to pry a raisin from those nostrils, it seems like the most you can hope for is to survive.
However, when it comes to your children, you're aiming a lot higher than mere survival. Of course, you want to get through those difficult tantrum in the restaurant moments, but whether you're a parent or other committed caregiver in a child's life, your ultimate goal is to raise kids in a way that lets them thrive. You want them to enjoy meaningful relationships, be caring and compassionate, do well in school, work hard and be responsible, and feel good about who they are. Survive, thrive.
We have thousands of parents who ask them at least they want to survive difficult moments, even with their kids. Our parents ourselves, we share the same way. In our nobler, calmer, saner moments, we care about nourishing our kids, increasing their sense of wonder and helping them reach their potential. Then the more frantic, stressful, glad toddler our so we can sometimes all we can hope for is to avoid that. In some ways, we're so many.
Take a moment and ask yourself, what do you really want for your children? What qualities do you hope they develop and take into their adult lives? Most likely you want them to be happy, independent, and successful. You want them to enjoy fulfilling relationships and live a life full of meaning and purpose. Now think about what percentage of your time you spend intentionally developing these qualities in your children. If you're like most parents, you worry that you spend too much time just trying to get through the day and sometimes the next 5 minutes, and not enough time creating experiences that help your children thrive both today and in the future.
You might even measure yourself against some sort of perfect parent who never struggles to survive, seemingly spends every waking second helping your children thrive. You know, the PTA president who cooks organic, well-balanced meals while reading to the kids in Latin about the importance of helping others. Then escorts them to the art museum in the hybrid that plays classical music and Miss Lavender aromatherapy with air conditioning vents. None of us can match up to this imaginary super parent, especially when we feel like a large percentage of our days are spent in full-blown survival mode, where we find ourselves wild-eyed in their face at the end of the birth department shouting, if there's one more argument over that bow and arrow, nobody's getting any present.
If any of this sounds familiar, we've got great news for you. The moments you are just trying to survive and are actually opportunities to help your child thrive. At times, you may feel that the loving, important moments, like having a meaningful conversation about compassion or character, are separate from the parenting challenges, like fighting another homework battle or dealing with another meltdown. But they are not separate at all. When your child is disrespectful and talks back to you, when you are asked to come in for a meeting with the principal, when you find crayon scribbles all over your wall, these are survive moments, no question about it. But at the same time, they're opportunities, even gifts, because a survive moment is also a thrive moment where the important, meaningful work of parenting takes place. We're going to finish it off to the next page.
For example, think about a situation you often just try to get through. Maybe when your kids are fighting with each other for the third time within 3 minutes, not too hard to imagine, is it? Instead of just breaking up the fight and sending the sparring siblings to different rooms, you can use the argument as an opportunity for teaching about reflective listening and hearing another person's point of view, about clearly and respectfully communicating your own desires, about compromise, sacrifice, negotiation, and forgiveness. We know it sounds hard to imagine in the heat of the moment, but when you understand a little bit about your children's emotional needs and mental states, you can create this kind of positive outcome, even without United Nations peacekeeping forces.
What's great about this survive and thrive approach is that you don't have to try to carve out special time to help your children grow. You can use all of the interactions you share, the stressful, angry ones, as well as the miraculous, adorable ones, as opportunities to help them become the responsible, caring, capable people. That's what this book is about, using those everyday moments with kids to help them reach their true potential. The following pages offer the antidote to parenting and academic approaches that overemphasize achievement and perfection at any cost. We'll focus instead on ways you can help your kids be more themselves, more at ease in the world, filled with more resilience and strength. How do you do that? Our answer is simple. You need to understand some basics about the young brain that you are helping to grow and grow. That's what the whole brain cell is all about.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, readers. It's so much fun. I love this part where we read together. Love it, love it, love it. So I hope you enjoyed that too. These are not my pictures. Leaf peeping 2021. These are stock pictures. So Yeah. So chapter 1 is talking about thriving and surviving, resilience and strength, and how these are important things that are found in those everyday experiences. I love the analogy of the UN peacekeeping forces. I mean, the UN peacekeeping forces only come out if it's like world peace is at risk, you know. But I understand where they're coming from, because there are times I have thought to myself, I need, you know, the UN peacekeeping forces in my house. When they fight, oh yeah, can be so ugly, you know. Did I tell you that at the nonprofit we lost a kid on Sunday? Kiddo had a serious mental health crisis, just struggling. This kid has been struggling for a long time, and he just had a major meltdown on Sunday, and we needed 911. And he left in handcuffs. Broke my heart. I wasn't there. That doesn't usually happen when I'm there. But there have been times I've needed the 911 too, when I was there, even when I was there to support the staff. So this kiddo just lost it. And so, yeah, we needed the UN peacekeeping forces in the form of Lake Oswego Police Department, 90 seconds away from the time we make the call, consistently, 90 seconds or less. They come rolling down the hill. So by the time you need the UN peacekeeping forces, there's no opportunity now to use that as a thrive and survive. It's really just survive. And now you're protecting the well-being of the other kiddos, because this one has just gone into a deep crisis. So now you're just surviving. But part of my job is to then help the staff gain a lot of reflection in terms of, hey, did we handle that situation well? That's a big part of what I do. What worked in preventing this kid from assaulting more staff? Someone had a bloody nose, needed to go and get medical attention for that. Someone got struck by a walkie-talkie and they had a major headache. And everyone who saw that and was traumatized by that violent interaction with this young person in crisis. What did we learn? What did we do well? What can we do differently next time to not need 911 and prevent this these youth in our care to not have mental health crises? Right, let's bring it closer to HD311 with younger kids, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When the kids are having those meltdowns, a big part of it is needing to understand when your child has a mental health crisis, how they have the mental health crisis, and where they have the mental health crisis, right? So with the kid I'm talking about, he's not in our age group, but still relevant. This kid struggles when he has high anxiety. When anxiety is high. We know this because we know that when he's anxious, he paces, he's rude, and there are other things. This is not in your text, it's complementing what we are learning in this text, but this is how we build on this at the nonprofit. So we know a couple of these things. So my job is to say we know all these things. We know that this happens oftentimes where it can be at school, oftentimes in his dorm, when it's time to transition to come to group, oftentimes that's when the kiddo comes apart. At school or when they return. School or therapy, on a day when they go to therapy, we're gonna have a problem with this kid. You understand what I'm saying? So my job is, we know all of these things about that kid. So why did we know what to do when he's pacing. This particular kid has an anxiety medication. He often, and it's a PRN, he takes it when he needs it. So he seldom will say, hey, I need my anxiety med. So with that kid, you have to say, hey, here's your anxiety pill, take it. After time, he takes it and he calms down. After time, he flicks it away. And you have to go do an incident report for a spoiled medication. And that has to be put in a disposal box. You understand what I'm saying? So there are a couple of things we do because we have all this information right here, and we help him name it and tame it and use a bunch of these strategies. So what went wrong? What did we miss? Why did we need 911? Why couldn't we prevent that from happening? Right. With a lot of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, when they're having struggle, oftentimes it's when they are hungry. They get hungry, that blood sugar dips, your child is going to have a meltdown. So you can come up with and know when to use your strategies. Make sure they're fed first before you need this. Eliminate the hunger, right? So we'll talk more about all of these strategies as we go. We're talking about describing takeaways from chapter 1 specifically. So basically, Siegel is setting us up to understand the child's brain. One thing I want to hear in, I think we have at least another essay, right, in this class. You have one more essay that's coming up. And so when you write your essay, I want to hear you make connections between book chapters 1 through 8 and this text, okay? That's what I will be looking for. So if you are hoping to score high, make sure somewhere in that essay you're making those connections. Make connections with the theories in book with what we are reading here. So what are Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development? Do you remember what those stages were that we learned in chapters 2 all the way till 8? And we are continuing to learn those in the adolescent development class. We will continue to unpack Piaget, Erikson, Freud in the adult development class. So the theories are not going anywhere. Those of you who are coming to graduate school, the theories haven't gone anywhere. You just continue to read more and more about how these theories tie into all of these concepts. You will continue to read on them. 4 stages of cognitive development for our 7-year-old or younger. We're talking about the sensory motor stage according to Piaget. That's step number 1 of cognitive development, right? From birth till about 24 months, 2 years. They're in the sensory motor stage where they're using their senses to learn about the world around them. They're using their little tongues to discover the world. They lick everything, including electrical sockets. So you want to baby-proof electrical sockets, because they're going to try and lick those too, right? And stick things in there. Then they move to the pre-operational phase, which is toddlerhood, from 2 years through age 7, according to Piaget. Then they move from concrete, and then they move to concrete operational phase, ages 7 to 11. So we talk about middle childhood in the next class, HD311. So I won't continue. But when it comes to Piaget, I would love to hear you make connections between those brain stages, okay? So in this phase of life, up to age 7, we are worried about 2 stages of Piaget's cognitive development theory: sensory motor phase and the concrete operational phase. Okay, any questions at this time? Right, in chapter 1, let's talk about this integrated brain. Siegel talks about the horizontally integrated brain. This is the left brain logic, and how it can work well with the right brain emotion. Vertical integration, the physically higher parts of the brain working well with the lower parts, okay? Let me see where this section is. So if you go to page 17, it shows us what the left brain is responsible for: logic, mathematics, reasoning. It all is processed in the left side of the child's brain. The right side of the brain is more the art, the emotions. It's all processed from the right side of the brain. So what he is saying there in horizontal integration is that logic working well with the emotions, because the emotions are more fully developed than their reasoning capacity, right? And then the lower parts are more concerned with survival and the lizard brain. And then the higher parts are more concerned with reasoning and executive function, inhibition, memory, and things like that. So the physically higher parts of the brain, which let them thoughtfully consider their actions, work well with the lower parts, which are more concerned with instinct, gut reactions, and survival. So that's brain integration according to Siegel. So when a child is fallen apart and they're escalated, there's brain disintegration. So this is what I was showing you on page 17. The parts that are responsible, you know, what the left mode and the right mode are responsible for. So we have just talked about that. What are some ways to understand the inner workings of the brain? We talked about this in the general psychology class, the prerequisite to this class. So we have MRIs using a strong magnetic field, not an X-ray, to produce an image of what is happening in the brain. We are talking about brain. So if you dig deeper into Siegel and Bryson's research, and anyone who's doing any kind of research on child neurological development, these are some of the ways that they map out how the parts are developing, which parts are developing and when. They might use functional MRIs. This one also records brain activity as opposed to just producing an image in the MRI. So the functional MRI is recording brain activity. Positron emission tomography, PET. This is a computer-generated color image of the brain activity based on glucose consumption in the brain. So these are all ways in which we understand what is happening in the brain. Okay. And in this one, I'm just giving you additional information to complement what brain is talking at when we think about hemispheric specialization. And what I mean by that is the functions of the different hemispheres, left or right of the brain. Any questions at this time? Recognize where this is at? I Googled leaf peeping 2021 and I saw an article that said best places in the United States for leaf peeping. This one was, this segment was like number 3 or number 4. Yeah, Portland. There we go. But I also saw a video on YouTube describing how run down the city has become. That's just really, really sad. And violence has gone up, especially violent murders, right? So I'm really sad. And at the nonprofit, they were talking about this really cool exhibit at OMSI entitled How Africa is Not a Country. and the life and legacy of Nelson Mandela. I was like, oh, we got to take the youth to this. So we're talking about it. So we're talking about different things the youth can do now that the weather's going to be bad and we can't spend too much time outside. So folks said, hey, we got to take him to the exhibit. I'm taking my kids to that exhibit on Sunday. I need to buy tickets. I remember. And so someone said, hey, we need to take the kids to Lloyd Center for ice skating. And someone said to me, it's been closed for a long, long, long time. I haven't been downtown like that in that way for a long time too. It's closed. All those jobs. Wow. Wow.
Being populated, so there's a lot less shoppers going in general.
Oh, wow. That is really sad. All those jobs. That's what downtown was, So I'm really, really sad about that. More information on right brain, left brain function. And the reason why I'm beating this drum so much is because I think in your learning check for this book, which is your final, I ask you a bunch of questions about left brain, right brain functions. Then I transition and then I ask you, why are some brains not integrated? What are your thoughts? Why are some brains not integrated? Why are some brains not integrated, and why do some of our kids have meltdowns, temper tantrums, don't grow out of them? What are your thoughts? Okay, I like that. They haven't had time to process the trauma and experience. Yes, sir. Yeah. So bad parenting or maladaptive parenting, I like to say, as opposed to bad parents or bad parenting. Maladaptive, I think, is a little more kinder to the ones who are doing their best, but they're telling their kids, hey, don't cry for so long. French toast and tea should have taken care of this. They're not even family, so you gotta pull up your belt, buddy. They're doing their best. They think they're helping you toughen it up. So we don't want to call those parents bad parents, because that, in that instance, they goofed that up, but they're not bad parents and they are doing their best. So maladaptive parenting is what I think is a better term. Awesome. Any other thoughts around why some kiddo brains are not integrated? The reason why I ask this is because you guys know a bunch of really nice kids, right? Sweet. You've taken care of some really adorable kids and you want to take them home, right? But you have seen some ones that are not integrated. Or you've been on a plane with one kiddo whose brain was seriously not integrated. You had fun on that flight. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Maybe if your parents were like that.
Yeah. Are you thinking about this by any chance? Things like this? You know what I'm talking about? What is this, Jillian?
Fetal alcohol syndrome?
Yeah. So some kids are born with that. So that could be one explanation for this. And genetics, and then a poor goodness of fit. Ha ha ha, I'm gonna have so much fun with your projects. And then a poor goodness of fit where the parents have no strategies, they have no handles, no education, they have their own trauma. And then there's a whole lot of maladaptive parenting. And then that negatively interacts with the kiddo's genes. And certain certain genes are activated. And we see that manifestation in a difficult temperament. They're very difficult to soothe. They get so intensely upset over little things or big things, but then bringing them down is a trip. Yeah. Great responses. They haven't had the time to mold and to become integrated. Parents will determine how they turn out as adults, so parenting has a lot to do with it. Genes, and then the interaction effect between genes and environment, yeah? So what molds brains? I give you a few things. Experience, where is that? I think all of this I'm taking from Sifu. Experience, having rich experiences with parents and caregivers and adults in their lives. Through those experiences where the parent comes back from home and carries the child on their shoulders and plays with them, and the child is able to calm down and reintegrate their brain, all of those things, that's experience. That's what the child will remember. That, hey, if I have a meltdown or if I'm in trouble, my safe base is my caregiver, and they will listen to me. Might not be able to solve it, but they will soothe me, rub my back, give me milk and French toast and some tea. And yeah, on many occasions, that will take care of it. And it's a safe place for me. You understand what I'm saying? Experience. You see, neurons that fire together, wire together. Children whose parents talk with them about their experiences tend to have better access to the memories of those experiences. Parents who speak with children about their feelings have children who develop emotional intelligence and can understand their own and other people's emotions. So what molds brains? Helping kids with trauma or children who are victims of abuse and neglect rewire. That's very possible. Where there's abuse and neglect, you can help those kids to rewire neurons and reset. That's what we are talking about when we say rewire. Genes, right? We talked about that. What molds brains? Genes play a part, and their temperament plays a part. There are many other things that we will talk about and learn from this text, okay? Do you have any questions? No? Okay, I have 2 videos I'm going to show you. And last time I showed you a video clip of a very, very unhappy kid. So I'm borrowing these 2 videos from my parenting class. Some of you are in my parenting class next semester, HD311. And so this is coming from that class.
If you have kids, chances are at some point you've had discipline problems. Do you think? It's payback for when you were a kid.
Okay.
And sometimes we're just clueless about how to handle those things. So today, and for many shows to come throughout the rest of this year, I'm going to be giving you guys a roadmap for navigating this rough terrain as we continue our Parenting 101 series. There is a science to this. We're going to talk about how to do it right. Well, today we're doing Parenting 101 follow-ups because we live in the real world and we make progress, but then other things come up. You manage these children, you don't cure them. Now, moms and dads may be the big guys in the house, but toddlers can really cut them down to size. And one of the most aggravating things to deal with is when your toddler throws a tantrum. Don't you just love it? Pull them in a restaurant or somewhere. My next guest, Terry, knows just what I'm talking about. Watch this.
My name is Terry. I'm a stay-at-home mom of a 3-year-old boy named Katie. He has horrible tantrums. His tantrums occur probably 2 or 3 times minimum a day. Always when his dad is at work.
These tantrums are just wearing my wife. And she's literally at her wit's end.
I've tried timeouts. I've tried to reason. I've tried to literally walk out of the room. Sometimes I've even tried to bribe her with candy or something. That doesn't work. he knows I'm a push-up person.
So how long has that been going on?
Oh, gosh, about a year, but it got worse. We just had a newborn baby. It's about 5 months now, and it's been getting worse. She
Okay.
came along.
So you have to have some idea about where this is coming from, so you can deal with the causal elements of it. Now, it increased when you had the baby, and there's been a division of attention
Yes.
at that point. So does it seem logical that this may be attention-getting behavior?
Yes.
That he's doing it to get your attention? Because he was an only child. Now all of a sudden, here's this little bundle of joy, and he starts throwing tantrums. Well, I can connect those dots,
Yes.
and that seems pretty obvious. Then when his dad's home, it doesn't happen as much, which could be one of two things. Either he doesn't think he can get away with it with his dad, or there's now double people there to provide attention, so he doesn't feel deprived quite as much. And it could be a combination of two. So you need to think about those things. So in a prevention, it's possible that you may want to hear some of the things I was saying earlier about that special big boy kind of relationship with him and giving him the attention so he doesn't feel threatened by the little one coming on. But also today, we brought in one of my favorite guys. This is a pediatrician, Dr. Harvey Clark, and he deals with toddlers every day. And in fact, he's written a new book called The Happiest Toddler on the Block. And now, I'm not sure that we agree on every aspect of this, but he's here to talk about his approach to stopping tantrums. We sent Dr. Clark to Terry's house to witness her child's tantrums and to work a little of the Dr. Clark magic. Take a look.
First thing that I want you to understand about cavemen is that in a lot of ways, it's like a little caveman. You know, cavemen would spit and scratch when they were angry, and they would pee where they wanted to, you know, have this language.
When I have to put him in bed for his nap, he goes crazy.
Start out by letting him know you get his message first before you give your message. And you do it in a kind of a repetitive, primitive way, like you want, you want, you want, you want, you want. It's passionate. It's energetic.
You want that cup, you want that, you want that, you want that, you want that. You don't want to go to bed. You don't want to go to bed, but we're getting towards the end. It's time. I don't want it.
If he still is upset about it, then you repeat it another 2 times. At that point, they give him.
You don't want it. You don't want it. No, you don't want it. No. He wants a Spider-Man shirt. He has one Spider-Man shirt. So many times it's in the laundry, it's dirty. He won't fight me, he will scream.
First, it's you want Spider-Man, 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 you want that now.
You want Spider-Man shirt? Spider-Man shirt, Spider-man shirt.
Then you come in with your message, which is
We can wear this. Look, we can wear this shirt. This is a cool shirt. Okay, yay. That was easy. That was easy. This is good. Then your pillow. Good shot. Okay, night night.
it's a learning process. It's something that the more you do it, the better it gets, and the better you'll understand what it is that you're doing.
Yay.
Yeah. Doc, your number one thing here is to make the child know they've been heard, right? That's really important to you that
Right.
they know that you're experiencing their message.
Before you get your message.
Right.
Yeah, whenever you talk to anybody who's upset, whether it's an adult or a kid, the most important thing is to let them know you get their message first before you take your turn. So if you say to your angry toddler, I know you want that, sweetheart, but you have to wait, it's not ready yet. They didn't, it's like blah, blah, blah.
Okay, and you have some other key points in here. Number one, you think it's important that you do mirror their energy. And in fact, we have your points. Let's put them up. Repeat the child's phrases with high energy. Match their energy, right? All right. And next, you say repeat them in the same order the child would.
We're parents all the time saying, it's okay, sweetheart, or no, you can't go out, it's snowing outside. We get to our message without repeating back. You want to go now. And we got to do that first before we get to our
Short phrases, because you don't want to be getting in some long diatribe of logic. And then tell me about the body language. Mirroring the body language.
Well, most of our message comes from the nonverbal way we present it, rather than the words we say. The older they are, the less primitive they are, so you don't have to do it in quite a primitive way. The more upset a child is, they go down that evolutionary elevator and they become even more prehistoric, and then you got it even more demonstrative in your language.
Do you ever worry about giving the child undivided attention for bad behavior?
No, because
Because you got a child throwing a tantrum here, and all of a sudden, he's got mom squared up, framed up, undivided attention.
well, you know something, they're under control. It's a behavior, like you said, this is a behavior that they're doing. First thing I want the child to know is I'm not against them. I love them. I see them. I understand what's going on. So I'm going to acknowledge what's going on in their language. Now, if the tantrum continues, I'm not going to be an audience there for a half hour. I'm going to let them know I love them. I join with them. And then I might say something like, you're so mad. You go ahead and cry. And I'm going to check you in a minute and see how you're doing.
And this was effective for you, for the behavior, right? And it spells it out in there in real action-oriented steps. I read it, cover to cover. Great. Next.
Okay, I'm gonna switch on the lights, get ready. All right. Hope that was helpful for you. In my parenting class,
Daddy, you better pay attention now. Every parent has been there. Your toddler having a real prolonged.
I have my parenting class students pick a book that they really like. And oftentimes that's a book they choose. And they do a special project around the book. Do you want to take a minute to write down responses to these questions? No, but yeah, you can jot them down or know them, because I'm going to invite you in the next minute after that to share your responses with folks in the class, with your colleagues in your tables or in pairs or something like that. So find another human being and kind of process what you watched in the video. And yeah, I want to hear what that's like for you.
Like this time, maybe think like, I was gonna start again. Great. I'm like, wait, can I handle it?
Okay, sounds like most of you are done. Anything special come out of your conversation? Anything surprising, anything you'd want to share with me? This is for my benefit.
Sort of seeing that, it's like we knew that, like obviously you want the kid to feel heard and, but like to match their energy, that's like.
Yes, ma'am?
So she said when she was like matching the toddler's energy and like kind of doing that, she felt kind of silly. Has there ever been like a parenting moment that you had where you're like, well, I kind of feel silly? Or like, do you ever teach in your parenting class like something that people are like, oh, this kind of silly or weird, but it's like necessary?
Yeah, there are many, many moments where sometimes the compromise is a silly one, actually. There are times where the response, it really doesn't feel very good. Sometimes I need to shift from being from being authoritative to being authoritarian to say, we're not going to do that right now. That's a safety concern for me. So that we are not going to do. And it feels silly sometimes, like counterintuitive, like that's not how I want to roll. But I have a safety concern. I have to prioritize my, safety for the kiddo. Silly. I can't quite see it in my mind where, oh yeah. I'm seeing one just a day ago, and the response was to laugh. And that was very confusing for the kid. Yeah, long story, but many, many moments where it's silly or counterintuitive, might even feel wrong, but necessary. Yeah. What made you ask that question?
I don't know. Our group was just really interested in like when she was like talking back the second time, she was like kind of not throwing a tantrum back, but she was really matching his like energy, like talking weird and like wagging her finger weird. We just thought that was kind of funny, but it seems to work. Stop crying.
Yeah, and it sounds like in this case, it actually worked, all the strategies worked. In the parenting class, we will talk about, I'm forgetting the acronym, but where they have you videotape the child and their difficulties and your response, either set up, they give you cameras to set up in the house, and then you show them select footage so that they can coach you and help you deal with the problem at home. And so, yeah. But do you know what I thought was not silly, but very interesting? Did you see how when she was happy and she did this with the, no, they didn't do that, they did this.
Oh, yeah.
And then Dr. Phil did this. Put your hand. Yeah, he did this to her. The mom, when he was talking to her, he did this. I was like, whoa, Mommy, that's not gonna fly, bro. Yeah. Keep your hands to yourself.
Oh my God. That's so normal, but I guess
No, big cultural, no. That's the silly thing I just couldn't shake off. First time I watched it, I was like, really? Okay, all right. Exactly.
That's funny.
It's culturally different. It's not a big deal.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. So I am done, my friends. Have a beautiful day. And I will see you next week, Monday. Take care. Oh, no, you can. Because you're American, everybody will expect you to do all kinds of different things, So, and it'll be amusing. It's really amusing, not offensive. So. Oh yeah, today I was at the dentist, and my dentist spent 2 years in South Africa.
Oh, really?
And so that's how I survived my dental appointment, because he kept telling me about all the places he went. I'm like, okay, that's uncomfortable.
Right.
And he kept telling me all the place. Oh, it was special today. Yeah. Victoria Falls, Queen Victoria Falls. Welcome. Bye-bye.